Welcome, everyone. Jen O'Sullivan here. I am a board certified naturopath, and I'm here to share with you some really fun updates, some fun things that I've been doing, some things that are working. And I think it's an interesting thing when you can combine technology and peptides and, just understanding your body from the perspective of what are we putting in it? How are we getting healthy? But for me personally, I love using things that are simple and non-invasive that actually move the needle. And so I'm going to share with you right now something that I use that has changed everything. It's changed the trajectory of our family. I'm talking about from a health perspective. It's changed the trajectory of how I view health and wellness and what I've been doing. So one of the things as a naturopath is I work in many modalities. Most of us do. I use essential oils. I use homeopathics, those little pills, little white tablets. I use, herbs, a lot of herbs. We do a lot of supplements that are natural. I'm all about natural. We do a lot of lifestyle shifts, a lot of changes, understanding your nutrition, understanding fitness, understanding hormones. Most of the people I work with are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, and just trying to help people get a handle on understanding what is the deal between, say, all right, I want to understand the pharmaceutical industry and what could benefit me there, but then also what would maybe hinder me and what would maybe cross-contaminate, right? Because sometimes certain supplements don't play nice in the same sandbox as certain pharmaceuticals and vice versa. And we have to kind of like combine, the two understanding so that you're doing it properly. And sadly, too many people are doing it wrong, and too many doctors don't actually understand the natural world, and natural people don't understand the, actual pharmaceutical world. And so I'm bridging that gap. I've been doing this for quite some time now and helping people truly understand how do you be your own best advocate. So for me, it comes into play where I really am looking at the holistic standpoint. Okay, so holistic means your whole body from top to bottom, and I want you to get better. So one of the things that I use is I'm going to share with you tonight. It's this combination of understanding how, say, infrared therapy, which some of you have learned about and you've heard about it. Maybe you go to an infrared, you go to an actual, red light therapy or infrared sauna. You're doing different things with infrared therapy. Maybe you wear like some sort of wrap around you, or maybe you use it for your face. There's all sorts of different light therapies, but we're going to talk specifically about low light continuous infrared light therapy here tonight. We're also going to cover understanding peptides and how those play a huge role, and specifically one in particular. But we're also going to cover a little bit on acupressure and how these three pillars come together in one technology that can really be a game changer for you. So, what I'd like to do is just quickly share my screen because I want to make sure that you're getting good value out of tonight and you're being able to see, what we're talking about and not be overly burdened with just me talking. I want you to actually see how this works. So I'm going to see if we can just do a side by side here. I always like it when we can share the actual slideshow with the presenter so that you can see both. But here's the deal. If you start to understand your body, and as we age, so in my 40s, I started getting heavily into menopause, gaining a ton of weight, had like apron belly come out of nowhere. And I was like, what is that? That's awful. Like nobody wants that. I started seeing the monster Jen come out where like I would just straight up say something to Tim that was not, it was like an out of body experience. And he would just look at me like, who are you and why, like, what have you done with my wife? It's one of those interesting things that you go through menopause, and I honestly think that's why divorce happens, is it's menopause. It's the craziness that comes out as we age, and because what's happening is as our estrogen declines, and even men, your testosterone is declining. So there's just this big shift in hormones. But outside of that, we have to address this. This is a copper peptide. This is a peptide. And you may have been learning a lot about peptides lately because there's a lot of companies coming out with peptides, and you're starting to understand the value of them. But the really big, like silver bullet, if you will, in aging is GHKCU. We age faster as our GHKCU declines. This is a copper tripeptide. And I'm going to explain what it is in just a minute, but I want you to understand something very important, and this is a scientific fact here. By the age of 30, your GHK declines by a little over half. By the age of 60, it's rapidly declining, and as you age, it snowballs. So this is an interesting thing because GHKCU, this copper peptide, it has been studied and proven over and over again since 1973. So this was discovered in the body, in the human body, by Dr. Lauren Picard in 1973. It is a human copper peptide. However, if you remember back in the 70s and even 80s, the popular thing to do was to try to figure out how to recreate whatever we figured out in our bodies that our bodies needed and recreate it in a lab. So you can see him holding his little jug there. And that's powder form GHKCU, which is this kind of bluish material that you can put into skin things, but you can also put it into capsules as a supplement, and you can get it in an intravenous or an injection. So part of the thing is here is, as a naturopath, I'm very wary of putting anything synthetic in my body. I look at it from, okay, God made our, supplements, maybe, and maybe not, right? So who made them? Well, God made man came up with some sort of, I don't know, bastardized version of a synthetic version that your body doesn't recognize. Now, you may understand that in science. Some scientists, some, chemists, they're like, no, 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 we've made these molecularly like accurate. They're going to be bioavailable. Honestly, your body still doesn't recognize it more than your own body, right? So like if your body produces vitamin D, it's going to recognize that more than if you take vitamin D. Now, why are we so vitamin D deficient? Because we don't have time to be out in the sun and you slather on a bunch of sunscreen, right? So we're doing this to ourselves. So one thing to understand though is always, we have to remember always at the core, human anything. So this is human GHKCU is what we want. We don't want synthetic. And what that term means, human, is translated to endogenous. So I need you to kind of put that in the back of your mind to understand that we want our bodies creating GHKCU. And we're going to explain why here. So what is GHKCU? It is a copper tripeptide. It's three amino acids. That's a tripeptide. So peptides are made out of a string of amino acids. In this case, it's three: glycine, histidine, and lysine, bound to a trace mineral of copper. So that's why it's GHK-Cu. And we get these amino acids in various forms in our foods. We also get copper in our foods as well. So you should have these elements already in your body. Okay, so this is the point here, is that I want you to understand that what happens as we age is that our body stops producing GHKCU. It starts using those amino acids for other things, and then copper becomes rogue. And you guys, some of you understand this, you have too much copper and your copper is causing problems for you. So we're trying to really get down to understanding, how can I turn on the ability for my body to create GHKCU? And one of the things I want to help you kind of understand before we get into like what you can be using here is what could happen to you if you were able to reverse the decline. So what we want to do is we want to reverse the rapid decline of GHKCU. GHKCU has been studied and proven over and over again to rise and fall at the exact same rate as your ability to age well or age poorly. So you wonder why someone in their 80s looks amazing. They have higher levels of GHKCU than you do. Okay, so the question is, how do I increase GHKCU? But first, I want to help you understand what the benefits are. Now, this has been proven over and over again to increase healthy, younger cells in your body. So that means you're going to have what's called a proliferation of healthy. That means it's proliferating life. It's giving more and more. It's producing more. Creating more of this GHKCU will automatically translate to creating more healthy, younger cells in your body that can go to work helping your body to do magical things. Okay, so what are these magical things?